This week's episode is brought to you by Adorama Picks. From photo books to prints on paper, metal, or canvas, Adorama Picks can help you to preserve and display your most precious memories. And by viewers like you. Visit photorec.tv/support to learn how you can support this show and join our community of photographers. Hello everybody, welcome to this week's Photo Mishmash. This is episode 96, Digital Nomad. Welcome back to another Photo Mishmash, everybody. This is, as I said, episode 96, Digital Nomad. This is that weekly photo show where we take the week's news, photography discussion, rumors, bits of gear, mash it all up, and talk about it for about the next hour or so. I'm Toby, photographer and educator.
And I'm Scott, the man in the elf hat.
The man in the elf hat. Thank you again for joining us, Scott, and thank you all out there. This is a bit of a special episode. It could be looked at as celebratory. That's why I'm doing a little bit of drinking.
That's why I've got beer.
Maybe it's just because I don't want to move with these bottles. Or it could be seen as a little bit of melancholic, because this is the very last show. I don't know why I have to wave my hands around when I say that. In this space. That's why I have to wave my hands around. It's the last show that will ever happen right here in this space. And yeah, because in 2 days' time, I'm going to pack everything up in this space, load it up into a truck, and drive on out of here. And Scott's not going to help me.
No, he wouldn't fly me out to help him move. Can you believe that? Tight.
It might have been worth it. It might have been worth it. We'll see.
I'm a good roadie.
Yeah, I bet you are. I don't exactly know what the duties of a roadie are, but sure. So the exciting bit for you all out there is the fact that over the next couple of months, I will be traveling to a couple different exciting locations and having some meetups that you can find out lots of information about at photorec.tv/travel. I told the folks in the after show this last week. My immediate destination when I drive out of here Saturday morning is my mother's house, which isn't terribly exciting other than I love my mother and I get to spend Mother's Day with her. But then things do get more exciting after that because I am off to Cuba with the McKays. I'll be there until the first couple of days in June and then some Seattle time. And you can see this full list at photorec.tv/travel. There are some meetups scheduled and listed all the way up through ours in England is October 10th, 11th?
It's October 11th. You land at a secret location on the 10th, and then we will be in London, and we will meet somewhere to be determined in central London.
That's right. And if you're interested in any of these, go to that photorec.tv/travel page. There's a little contact form in there. Let me know which and where you are interested in. And follow along too, because there's going to be more about my big drive out to Seattle from the Maryland area in late August, early September. That there's potential for multiple meetups along the way, and I've already scheduled some lovely folks that are in the Photorec support group. I will be stopping, saying hi, informal, and so I'll be sharing more about all of these things soon. Good. And then we should put on there your Photokina, right? We're still working on getting that all figured out.
We have applied for the press accreditation, however that works. Waiting for an email back from the Germans. Hopefully that will be confirmed. Should be fine. And we're hoping to have a meet up. We might chat to the Northrops and maybe mingle with them. Maybe Matt Granger. We're not sure. Or depending on how many guys are out there, we might just do a meet up on our own, have some drinks, have dinner or something like that. We'll see as it comes up. But I'm 95% going to be there.
Sounds good. That's exciting. So we'll get that on that list as well, so you can see it and meet up with Scott and meet up with some other people as well. And as I mentioned, so I'm drinking a gin and tonic. This is the first time I think I've ever drank on this show. I I topped it up right before the show started. I had made some good progress. And well, I'm a lightweight, so we should see by the time the after show rolls around, this could be good. And of course, I've got my trusty shot glass, my 24 to 105, that we can fill up with a little bit of gin later on in the show. If let's say if I get a couple more Patreon supporters, we should make. I need some incentive.
I'm drinking a nice cold San Miguel.
San Miguel. Okay. Is it very hoppy?
No, actually. It's not.
I might like it.
It's nice,
then.
though.
Good.
It's kind of like your beer rather than our beer, really. If it was like our beer, it wouldn't be cold.
Yeah, that's strange.
It's nice.
What we're trying to do is break the record of last week's show not actually starting with photo content until the 8-minute mark. And we're probably right about there. So...
We haven't talked about my haircut yet. We haven't talked about the cats or anything like that. No. Any other way we can waste time instead of starting the show?
Oh, we can point out your awesome elf hat that we have going on right now, and we
can talk about my elf hat again.
Yeah, it's green. Okay,
I can see it. I've got the feed in the lower corner.
Very good. Let's talk a little bit about the. Let's get started with in case you missed it, or what we call the week in review. This is content that has gone out on the channel or the blog site over the last week that you might have missed. First thing that I think is exciting, because I've wanted to get this out for a while now, is my thoughts on the Sony a6300. It's a very nice camera. If you want to know more, you should go watch my full review. I actually filmed more information. It's not really a review, but it's a couple more features and things that I really like, and it's the reason why mirrorless, or the Sony, has become my go-to camera. So that video should come out in another week or so. But it's a very nice camera. It's not for everybody. This certainly isn't the perfect camera, but it is quite good, and I think for most people that follow my channel and are looking for a good camera for just general photography and travel, it's hard to pick a better camera than that. On the other hand, all of the cameras are very good these days, so it's not the camera holding you back.
I'd like to take one for travel, really. I'm weighing up what I do when I head to Asia for a little bit this summer.
Yep.
And obviously I've got the GoPro for some time lapses and underwater stuff. And I've got the A7 II, and I love the A7 II. It's a great camera, but at the moment I'm only using adapted lenses on it. And if I'm going to get some native E-mount glass, if it's going to be full frame, it's still going to be fairly chunky.
Yep.
So an A6300 is pretty appealing at the moment.
It is. It is. It's quite appealing. Wait, you said something that, oh, I know what. So there were a couple of comments on the review of, does this make the A7 Mark II basically, useless or not useless? Like, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of to defeat the purpose of, why would you pick an A7 Mark II over the A6300 was what some people were starting to wonder.
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons why you'd pick an A7 Mark II over an A6300. It's the kind of the same reason you'd pick a 6D over a 7D Mark II if you want that nice big full frame sensor.
Yeah. I will say that, in my opinion, there is less difference quality-wise there, but I think there are some other reasons. Control for one of them, in-body image stabilization. So there are some reasons. But yeah, A6300 is a great camera. Go watch it. Go watch that review if you haven't already. My other content that went out is the second video from Utah. I really like this one. Got lost in the dark a little bit. So go take some time to watch that. I discuss using tripods for landscape photography, when you might not need them. Oftentimes, one of the nice things about going on these trips is I get to work with a lot of beginners and kind of see what's in their head. And there's oftentimes a feeling of, I'm taking a landscape picture. Every shot of Ansel Adams taking a landscape picture shows him using a tripod. Yeah, well, he's got this gigantic monster of a camera sitting up there, and he was incredibly carefully composing it. Hang on to that thought. For many of us with these modern cameras, they're easy to handhold, and we're working at shutter speeds plenty fast enough. But if you are incredibly careful about your compositions, and there are some cases where you should, having a tripod, having your camera on a tripod allows you to kind of study that scene. So I talk about that. I talk about or show you the benefits of using a circular polarizer filter. Yeah, there's at least one other helpful topic in there, plus some of that landscape that's quite beautiful. I still have more content. Working with the animals of Montana on that trip was fantastic, and that content is going to come at some point, hopefully before I head off to Cuba as well. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay.
That's it for the for YouTube. Yeah.
Okay. There was, oh yeah, well the post, you'll talk about the post when we get to the news. So one of our sponsors this week is Adorama Pics, who makes wonderful, wonderful photo books. And this is the last week you can save 25% on your photo books using that coupon code that's right down below. We talked last week, Scott. You have created a photo book before for a client, I think you said?
Yeah, photo books are great. You can... it takes a little bit of time, but if you can put together a really nice photo story for someone when you've done a shoot for them. Yeah. Obviously, priced in or however you want to do it. If it's something you're not pricing in, whatever. And it's just something that can go on their coffee table or on their shelf or something like that, and it tells a lovely story. It's I really love prints and that kind of thing, but a photo book itself is just. It's one of those tangible things you can sit through and just, read, and people go, oh, look, baby pictures or family pictures or memories. It's just something great that can just sit on the coffee table.
I really like
those Adorama ones are fantastic.
Yep. I really like you hitting that term tangible. It's something that, is right there that you can pick up and go through. Pictures on the wall are nice, but eventually you can fill up your wall, or you're sitting in a room not in that wall with that picture, and having this book on the table that tells the story of your kid from their first year of life until they're 10, or maybe just their first year of life. It's a really special thing. I actually made one for my daughter in a trip we took last spring, and I had a little fun with it. On one of the pages, I had taken a burst of images of her carving on this little stick, and I put all of those as little thumbnails on one page, and 2 of them are identical, and the rest are all slightly different because I was just holding down the shutter. And I put a little caption that says, 2 of these are identical, can you find them? So you can have a lot of fun with these. You can tell stories, you can play games. You're limited by your imagination. And as Scott said, they take a little bit of work, but the Adorama Pics website is pretty drag and drop. You get your pictures up there and you drag them in. You can even actually just say autofill for me and then move them around within the book builder. It's all quite easy, and you can save 25% this week. So don't procrastinate. Take a moment during the show, open up another tab as you're listening to us, find some special pictures from the last year, maybe for a certain category like a vacation. All of these things work, and they have all of these different templates that will get you started and allow you to poke through and make a nice book with a minimum of fuss. So we thank them for their support. Thank you, Adorama Pics. Go make a book. Adorama. There's a link right down below. And now, talking about links right down below, we're going to start talking about the week's photo news and all of the show notes, including some stories that we don't really get to or some stories that we just kind of say the titles of. Those are all going to be linked below. So if you want to find out more information, you can look there. Good?
Cool.
So let's see. I think we should do this first news story first. A couple of weeks ago, we had that discussion about the guy. I don't remember much about it, other than he really bashed Sony. He was like, Sony FE mount is a disaster. All of the other camera or lens manufacturers are running scared from it because of its flange distance and physics. And, he was all riled up. And, somebody else who's latched on to that kind of riled upness, and has also talked about it a bunch, is that angry photographer guy. He is very negative Sony. He's very negative a lot of things, actually. I don't care for that approach.
He's angry.
That's true. I guess that's his shtick. Yeah, but
that's his niche, maybe.
What bothers me is when he gets angry at other YouTubers that I see making good content and kind of spreads misinformation and spreads misinformation about mirrorless. So this guy has written a really nice kind of rebuttal, a very even, here are the facts, here is some information. And he actually, as a result, has been kind of harassed by the angry photographer at times because of this. He just keeps emailing him and saying, you're an idiot, you're wrong, physics. He just keeps shouting physics. I don't know. But so, I don't want to go through this whole article because it's really long. But I went through enough of it to see that people have blown a lot of this stuff out of proportion. Do I know for sure that the FE mount will be an amazing mount forever and will have stand the test of time like Nikon's mount will? I don't know. You all know Canon changed their mount in the early 80s, I think it was, and they left a lot of lenses behind. So there's been history of other mounts not really making the switch as the forward march of progress. But there's just a lot of great information in here. If you read those other ones and you were on the fence about Sony or not and that scared you away, you should at least read this and form your own opinions and make some educated decisions, because there was a lot of misinformation in that other article, and also I believe from the other YouTubers who are so negative. But again, I'm not saying this is the camera everybody should buy or it's amazing. It's pretty good. But I just want you to be educated and make your own decisions.
Everyone's going to go out and buy a Fuji X-T2 anyway when that comes out. So
wait, do we know when that is going to come?
It's soon. It's at the point where there's now leaked pictures of the whole camera, and I really was close to buying that when I was looking at the A7 II, and the only reason I didn't is because I didn't want to then buy Fuji glass and have Canon and Fuji glass. I think if money wasn't an object and I wanted a smaller mirrorless camera, well, okay, mirrorless camera doesn't necessarily mean smaller, but in this instance it does. The XT1 would have been what I would have bought, hands down. It's a fantastic experience shooting with it. I've got a few friends that have got them. They love them. They absolutely love them. There's a lot of wedding photographers here in the UK that have completely ditched Canon and Nikon and gone Fuji, and they love the quality out of those Fujis. They're
very, very nice. I'm trying. Is it an articulating screen? I can't remember, even though I reviewed it. I'm trying to find a picture right now that reminds me whether or not it is. I really like articulating screens now and find it very difficult to go to a non. It is. Yeah.
Do you know what has an articulating screen and an amazing sensor and is built like a brick house?
What's that?
The new Pentax.
It's true. It's true.
I've seen some pictures of that, and that looks nice as well. That was very, very nice.
It is.
We've gone off topic from mirrorless, but I just wanted to point that out.
Well, I think that's all I want to say about this article. Just that if you're watching this and you're on the fence, or you ate up that other article and we're like, that's right, Sony's the worst, just read this to get a little balance and then make your own decisions. That's all I want to say. I want to just kind of spread some information instead of misinformation.
I think we talk a lot about Sony on this show recently.
We do.
And I think, enough to probably be labelled slightly fanboys. But to give balance, at the moment my go-to kind of everyday camera is my A7 II. But if I'm shooting an event, I'm always picking up the 5D Mark III every single time. No discussion.
Agree. I shot a wedding this weekend, and my main camera for that was my 5D Mark III, partly because the two lenses I have are going to work extremely well, and in that kind of environment, it was good. But you know what, actually, when you bring that up, I was shooting with Steve, who was on the show, was at episode 93, I think, with his Nikon D5. And there was a little bit of downtime during the dancing where he wasn't shooting with his D5, and I was like, hey, Steve, can I shoot with the D5 a little bit? Oh man, low light focus is unreal. And I guess you should expect that to some degree. It's a brand new camera at that $6,000 price point, so it should work well. But the difference between it and the 5D Mark III center focus point in low light situations, the dance floor is typically pretty challenging. It was fantastically better. Really nice. Really, really nice. And I did actually bring out the A6300 on the dance floor a little bit. Not so good in that low light situation. It did definitely struggle more. Better, not quite as good as the 5D Mark III, but very close to it, and of course nowhere near as good as the D thing. But let's talk about Sony a little bit more. You're excited. I'm excited too. We've got some new lenses coming, possibly?
Yep. So Samyang, Rokinon, Vivitar. What else do they? What other name do they trade under?
Bauer.
There's that Bauer. They've got a ton of names. They're kind of face. Sorry, I'm just bringing this up on my screen. They're kind of famous for these kind of what do we like manual focus lenses that
Yeah.
are they're
Affordable but sharp, good quality. I just reviewed that Rokinon 14
yeah.
FE and found it to be very, very good. Yep.
Yeah, so the Samyang have announced two new lenses for the Sony FE mount, full frame, and they are autofocus. That I mean that's pretty big for that. I believe they are the first third-party native mount glass that is autofocus. Am I right in that?
First third-party native glass that's autofocus and full frame. Well, what about the Zeiss Bat? Aren't those autofocus? The Zeiss Batis?
Are they not? Are they technically third-party? Is Zeiss Sony's Zeiss? Is it not a
I think they technically are.
Okay. Well,
All right.
maybe. Okay, maybe. The way they've been marketed, but
But they are, I mean, this is the first time that I'm aware of that Samyang has made autofocus
and
lenses.
autofocus lens. Yeah. So anyway, kind of we got away from the subject here. So they've announced a 50-1.4, 50mm 1.4, and a 40mm 2.8. So the 40mm 2.8, we're hoping is going to be very similar to that 40mm 2.8 manual focus that you've been reviewing. Although it looks like it's been redesigned. Looks nice.
Yep, they look
You
like
know,
very clean, modern design.
yeah, the aesthetics of lenses necessarily aren't hugely important, but sometimes it's a half a point out of 10 or something like that. You want it to look professional.
Yep.
And the 51.4 is a big thing because the options with that kind of type of lens on the Sony are limited. Most of them are kind of 1.8. So 1.4 is going to be nice.
Yep.
Just today, actually, I noticed that there's been some sample images have gone on is it a Chinese website? I'm
I
not
think
sure
it was.
what it was.
Yeah.
And 1.4, it looks like it's not fabulous, but I don't think we were expecting it to be that fantastic at that. But for fairly fast glass, to have autofocus, and on a brand that is currently in quotes budget, I think prices are being muted around about $500, something around about that mark,
That's what I saw. Yep.
which is not bad for a
not bad.
51.4. What's the Canon 51.4 just for comparison?
It's about 300. 350,
Really?
350, I think, when it is not on sale. I think you can get it for 300, 350. Yeah.
Okay, that makes it sound expensive then.
Yeah. Yes, but it's not very good.
No, it isn't good.
Not very good.
Well, I think the main thing out of this is there's two things. Firstly, it's great to see them moving into autofocus lenses. Apparently, the Sony E mount is pretty much open, and they release all the information to developers to be able to make their lenses autofocus, which is probably why they've gone down this road to try and get things out quicker. But what it means is that they could then possibly bring this technology into Canon, Nikon, Pentax, all this kind of other stuff, and with their optical quality, moving that then into autofocus as well at a good price point. This is just another kind of another great thing for those of us that, to be honest, you know, I've never bought an L lens in my life purely because I'm relatively happy with the results I get out of my Tamron glass, and I love tack sharp glass, but I don't need. I'm happy to have 99% out of 100
Yep.
out of my images. You know, a client's not going to sit there and pixel peep on what I'm doing.
Yep.
And to kind of photography almost on a budget. Is that probably the best way of putting it?
Yeah.
I've put that quite badly, but it's exciting to see. You know, the 40mm is a fantastic lens on a budget for astrophotography, and to be honest, is in its own right, not even just on a budget. It's a fantastic wide-angle lens, one that I've really strongly debated buying over a long period of time. In the end, I got the Tamron 15-30 because I decided I wanted a zoom.
Yeah. That gives you good
But-
versatility. Yeah.
Yeah, but optically, the Rokinon Samyang glass are fantastic. And so hopefully it means that most of this glass and kind of their cinema line as well may all incrementally get upgraded to autofocus. That's exciting.
It is exciting. Yep, and it's just exciting to have more options. Good. All right, let's move on to this story that we hear this about once a month, probably, maybe even a little bit more often. A rapper or a musician, let's say, it doesn't matter who it is. Somebody, a public figure, took an image that was captured of them, reposted it without credit. Then that photographer politely asked for credit and was told to basically F off. Why are we talking about this story? Because it's so common, because here's what I think is interesting. He got the rapper, what's his name? Something. Danny Brown, rapper Danny Brown. I thought I was going to say it was some weird name, but Danny Brown's pretty straightforward.
I've never heard of him.
He got his crew started to kind of harass this photographer and basically say, you're an idiot. Why didn't you watermark your picture? And this is the reason why I'm bringing this story up, because I like the photographer response. It says, for people commenting that I need a watermark, they don't do shit. They look terrible, and people crop them out anyway. So we talk about that from time to time. People often ask us our opinion on watermarks. And with Michelle G. Hunter there, I concur. They often look like shit. And people crop them out anyway. So that's my opinion on watermarks. That's her opinion on watermarks. And in this case, it probably wouldn't have helped. You could say then, well, she should have put watermark across the whole screen or something like that. But that's just not how it works, and that's not good for business most of the time.
I mean, I tend to put a little one in the corner of pictures, not from an image theft point of view, mainly from just from an advertisement branding kind of thing. Yeah. If I do party photographs, I want a few people to look at my site, and on the off chance that somebody makes it their profile picture, they might not crop it out. They will crop it out, but they might not crop it out.
They might not. It's true.
So, and to be honest, with putting watermarks on your images, unless you're going to put it in an area which is kind of critical to the image, which is going to ruin the image, if someone really wants that, they're going to download that and they're just going to content aware fill and remove that watermark. It's so easy to do.
It's true.
Different strokes for different folks, but true. I think they're a bit pointless.
Yep. I just, I don't think I've ever been annoyed by your watermarks. That's good. I just see so many poorly done watermarks, like these cutesy little logos that are just too much and too large. But there are certainly some arguments for sharing that information and letting people know who took it. But in general, they don't do shit, as Michelle says.
Oh, you're swearing this evening. That gin.
Or maybe it's the last episode. For people just joining us, I am drinking. This is the last episode that will happen in this space ever. And onward. So
I want the backdrop. Can you mail it to me?
I thought we talked about that already. I could stick a little sail on it and kind of get it to sail across the Atlantic. Maybe some, rugged. Riley's a rugged-looking individual. Maybe he wants to sail it across the Atlantic. Oh, he's for dollars. He's making a dollar symbol. Well, Scott, I'll leave that up to you. You guys can discuss whether or not you want to do that. Okay. Good. An article crossed my desk, this week that I thought it would be fun to go through briefly here, and it's about being a guide to ethical wildlife photography. And one of the reasons why this is in my mind is one of the things that I really like about working with Thompson Safaris and McKay and going to Tanzania later this summer is that is foremost in their mind. They have created the space. They treat it extremely well. They use the local guides, and those guides, first and foremost, are making sure that the animals are safe and happy. And then second is making sure that you can get the pictures you want. So there's just a couple of things in here. This is written from India, and apparently for a little while in India, wildlife photography was really unethical. People were getting up into bird nests and photographing and then actually destroying the nest so other people couldn't take a good picture in that area or of that nest of those birds. So some really horrible things were happening. And so actually, I'm not going to go through this. I think I said everything I want, but it goes through, basically the idea of don't get too close to the animal, don't be photographing its nest or its den too closely because you could stress it out and then it's not going to return and then the babies are going to die. You basically boils down to act like you're being watched by, well, I don't remember who it says, but other people, but like your mother. Make sure you are acting like you're being watched by your mother whenever you're doing these things, and be smart about them. Yeah. That's all I wanted to say about that.
I agree.
Remember, these links, they're all right down below, so you can go and take a look at them if you want to read in more detail all of those guidelines to ethical photography. So you've got a, what is it? Well, I was going to say you've got a UK lab. Yeah, that's right. So this Ilford is now going to develop your black and white film here in the U.S. They've been doing that for 15 years in the UK, but they're going to bring a lab to the U.S. now.
I was not aware of this lab, but if it's in Ilford, it's very close to me. But I was not aware of that. So, but that's cool. I mean, film photography is kind of making a comeback, isn't it? It's it initially started kind of hipstery, and now it's nostalgic, a bit like this week's Instagram challenge. There's been a few film entries in that.
Yep.
That's quite cool. So I know one of our Patreon members I think it's Christian, shoots quite a lot of film at the moment.
Yep.
And that's cool. It's something I've never tried. I probably should. It's probably limiting, but I should try it. It's I suppose it's where most of the great photographers these days started, and maybe it gives you a good grounding for spraying and praying a bit less, being more selective with your shots as opposed to just shooting 400 or 500 frames and then taking the best ones in post.
Right. Well, that was Christina's always argument for, shooting film. She really liked how it made her stop and say, this is my picture, I'm going to take it. And then there's no reviewing, so you just hope you got it and you move on. And we've talked about that in other shows of trying to take that and applying it to when you're shooting digital. But one of the nice things that a lot of people used to develop their black and white at home, because that was pretty painless of an operation. You don't need a whole lot. You could do it in a bathroom with a couple of chemical bins. But now, if you do still want to shoot this style of black and white or this black and white film, but not have the hassle of developing it yourself, you can send it off to this lab. And obviously, turnaround time should be much better than having to ship it across that big pond or sailing it on a big board. So, all right.
Bubbles has popped along to say hello again.
Hi, Bubbles. Oh, get Bubbles up so Bubbles is under the elf hat. Higher. Elfie Bubbles. Come on, this is going to go viral now, isn't it? Let's go viral.
Look at the camera, Bubbles.
Cats aren't really...
No, she doesn't. She doesn't. Have you given them biscuits yet? Oh, she's hungry as well, aren't you? Go and get some biscuits.
All right. Hey, speaking of, we talked about taking a picture, not looking at the back of the camera, or shooting film. You don't have that option. Leica wants to give you that option. Actually, they have, but now they're coming out with a new model I think is a little bit more affordable. A little bit.
They want to give you that option and just charge you a fortune for it, which is a great marketing idea. I like it.
Yeah.
It's genius.
So it is the LCD-free Leica MD Type 262. So this is a digital camera with no LCD. And it is not the first, right? They had one already, I believe. Technically speaking,
really?
The MD is basically... Oh, I thought they did. Oh, no. Yeah, see, the limited edition LCD-free M Edition 60.
Limited edition.
Right, that's another way to make big bucks.
Limited is probably the right word.
Right. Right. Yeah. But again,
I can semi-understand this, even though it is kind of a Leica thing and it's a branding thing, because I suppose it's giving you the film experience in a digital body. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kind of. I'm not sure I'd want to pay, what is it, $6,000?
I believe that is what it is.
That's D5 money.
That's D5 money where you can spray and pray a whole lot.
Yeah.
A whole lot. Well, I won't get into it. Well, here, let me save everybody money. And now, with this money that I save you, all of you out there that were thinking about getting the Leica, you have to put it into my Patreon support fund. You can turn off image review on your camera. And then you've got the same thing. Or take it a step further. Go down to your local craft store, buy some construction paper, pull out all the different fun colors and put them to the side for projects later. Get out the black one, cut it in a nice little square, get 4 little pieces of Scotch tape, and tape over your LCD. You could also do that. And then...
That is a good idea.
I have just saved you $6,000. Please start to deposit some of that, maybe $5 a month, would be a good suggestion into my Patreon support fund.
If you give Toby enough Patreon support, he might start paying me. Who knows?
I might.
He
All
won't.
right. All right. Hey, I'm a pretty fair guy.
He's pretty fair. He's pretty fair.
Oh, well, the 5D Mark III falling over, me knocking it over in my drunken state, reminds me that you can win this strap. Actually, not this one. This one. On Instagram right now, it's the second most recent Instagram I've posted. This is the Spider hand strap. I've just ended up with an extra one. I posted something about this earlier this week, and there were a couple of comments that I really like the Peak Design one. I've tried both. I do really like the Peak Design Slide Light strap and other strap, and their bag is pretty nifty, but their wrist strap, or whatever you want to call this, I think they call theirs the clutch, pales in comparison to this. There is nothing else. Watch my hand go in here. And they're not paying me to say this. I've just been really happy with this. It works, it fits nicely. It's got this little extra guard that you can put around your wrist if you want that there. They're on Kickstarter right now for a mirrorless sized one. This works very nice with DSLRs, but they're working on a mirrorless one. They have been fully funded, but if you've got a mirrorless camera and you want a nice wrist strap, you should go back that, because there's nice bonuses and it's a much better deal than if you wait until it's public and selling. But if you want to win this, all you got to do is just comment and follow photorec.tv on Instagram and photorec.toby on Instagram. And if you're nice, you could follow Photoscott too, Photoscott88. And tag a friend who has a DSLR. That's all you got to do. And I'll announce a winner on Monday. And Karen's Photos, Karen with 2 underscores, I made the mistake, won the Me Photo 360 Sidekick Plus that I gave away earlier this week. Just trying to, there's stuff I have that I don't need anymore. And I know it's little stuff, but I want to pass it on to somebody who will make use of it. And yeah, so do that.
I'm happy to make use of anything you want to get rid of.
I know, I have shipping everything to you is expensive.
No, that 50mm art is, you can send me that. That's fine. I'm happy to look after it for you until you're here.
What do you want?
Send me the 50 art, the 51.4. Maybe the A7R2. You can send me that as well.
Okay.
Anything else?
Put it on the list. That sounds good for now. Do you want Pixel?
I'm on the list, yeah.
You can't have Pixel.
I've got Bubbles and Bella. I don't need Pixel.
It's true. I've been left catless, so I've got Pixel. Let's just talk about the headline. Fuji gives up on the 2/3 inch sensor, discontinues that X30 model. I don't think we ever talked about that camera. It wasn't a bad camera, but it was just kind of in this weird in-between space, not too exciting. Lee has released a simple exposure guide to use with their ND filters, which is nice because when you throw those big, heavy, dark ND filters on, your exposure, trying to figure out your long exposure goes out the window. That's another thing I like about the Trigger Trap app, which is actually free. You don't even have to have the Trigger Trap dongle, but it has an ND exposure guide built into it so that you can kind of figure that stuff out. And Heliopan is now going to replace your UV and protection filters if they shatter.
That's cool.
That is nice of them to do that. But I don't feel like you should have those on your camera anyway.
No.
You should have a lens hood.
You should have a lens hood.
Lens hoods. That's so much more protection. We can get into a discussion if you want. There are some
We'll get a lot of hate for that. We'll get a lot of hate for that if we got into that discussion. People are very protective about their protective filters because it protects the front element.
Yeah. From what?
It doesn't, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Doesn't.
Time and time again.
At the weekend, I accidentally put my 24-70 in the bottom of my camera bag without the hood on it and didn't have my lens cap on. And I pulled the 24-70 out and looked at the front of it. Do you know what happened to it?
Nothing. Spoiler. That's right.
Because they are made seriously tough. And even if you do slightly scratch that front element, you aren't going to see it.
It's true.
You really aren't going to see it.
It's true.
Honestly. Yeah. So that's a kind of almost a top tip there. If someone's got a tiny tiny bit of scratch on their lens and they're selling it at a hugely discounted price, buy it. Buy it, because you're never going to see it.
Now you're going to get hate mail when somebody buys it and there's a little scratch showing up on the thing. But no, that
'Cause
reminds
they're
me. I mean,
shooting F-32.
Right. Okay. You get the Trigger Trap. Tim wants to know where you get the Trigger Trap app from. It's in both the Google Play Store and the iTunes Store. Both.
Fantastic app, Tim.
Yep.
Get it.
Very good.
Trust me.
Very good. All right. Now we move on to that section of the show where I say photos from space. We really should have a graphic up so that people don't have to see me say that. They could just hear me.
Well, could we even not get? I know this is since we're taking a hiatus or however you call it now. We're taking a break.
Hiatus.
Hiatus, is that how it
Brits.
is? Yeah,
Yeah,
that was what I meant.
You're making us Haitian. It's different.
Yeah.
I'm going to Cuba, not Haitian.
The the same way we have the mishmash thing, we should have that, but we should get you to record a really dramatic one and then have it flash up on the screen.
Yep.
That's our homework for when we're away.
Okay. Noted. Homework. All right, so Popular Photography has this article. Here are 2.95 million photos of Earth from NASA. I wish they just rounded up and said 3 million. Where are they? Okay. You can dig into the images here. So let's see. Each image is reportedly a 37-mile square that shows off a piece of the Earth. The images were used for research, but they're also rather beautiful. So you can click here, and we're at JPL. And this is the Aster Earth data. It's all available at no cost. So I want to see more Aster data via, okay, so if we click here, I just want to kind of see what this interface looks like because it's governmental. Oh yeah, there we go. Now we're starting to get into the good stuff. Swath width. Where do I just click and see at least like one picture? No? Aster? Policies, project, community measures, Verus, citing our data, tools, user resources, tools, data access. I don't know. So somewhere buried in a governmental website is 2.95 million images of Earth from space. But what makes Aster unique is it's the, never mind. Let's just move on.
It's the gin. It's the gin.
I'm done. It's delicious.
Riley, get that man some more gin.
Well, it's sitting right next to me. I can get some more in a minute, but I have to pace myself. Let's talk a little bit about our Instagram winners. This week was nostalgia, things that we're nostalgic for. And there were some really solid images submitted in this group. Give me a second to get these open because I'm always behind in opening them up. Did you have trouble picking? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, am I going first or are you going first?
You can go first.
I'll go first. Okay.
But
you were saying?
I was just saying I found it difficult to pick winners. Whenever, always with these contests, there are times where I have an idea in my head of it. And so then when I'm picking, I kind of have that bias of, oh, that works for the idea that I thought of it as. And there are times occasionally where somebody's image will kind of redefine my idea. And I'll be like, ooh, that works. And then there are times where I see an image that I'm like, that's a beautiful image. It doesn't really work for nostalgia, but it's a beautiful image. So I think I have all of those open.
There was a lot of great pictures this week, and I tried to pick ones that I felt were genuinely nostalgic. Either person, you could see from the caption they were personal to them, or you can mostly tell. It if an image is great, it tells the story anyway. So, but I picked 3 images. Are mine up on your screen yet?
Oh, you know what I've done? I've gotten smaller here. Let's see. I have my... Man, they're all in a weird order. Okay, I have my first honorable mention on the screen.
Okay.
So I'm going to go first here.
You're going first.
Now, this is one of those hand egg beaters, which for some people they still use today. In fact, I have one down in the drawer. But instantly, seeing this takes me personally back to my childhood, my dad coming home from a bicycle ride and hearing him use the hand beater to beat eggs for pancakes or waffles in the morning. That's instantly what I think of, and it makes me nostalgic for that time and for him being around. So, and plus, I just think this is a nice shot. Depth of field was chosen very nicely here, and that we kind of got this nice focus on this interesting piece of it up in the top left corner, which is usually where we start with our eyes. And then you kind of read across the image and down into the egg bowl as we get out of focus. So Ectol 21, as one of your commenters said, this is an excellent picture. God, that's terrible.
Oh, God.
No. And then my second honorable mention, you just got a glimpse of my winner, so hang on there, is Rowan Jonas's kind of this winter beach picture done in a high contrast black and white. There's something very nostalgic to me about the beach in wintertime. You're there, it's interesting, it presents some interesting photographic opportunities, but it's usually miserable to be there because it's cold and it's windy. And it often makes me feel like, oh, I wish it was summer again, or summer. It's nice. And plus, I really like this image. I thought the heavy black and white treatment worked. It's very dark. It's very kind of like, what are we saying here? That the subject is way over there on the right of that little kind of beach house or lifeguard station. I'm not sure what, but we've got that reflection in the water coming around to the left. I really like this image. This is nice. Nice job, Rowan Jonas. And my winner is the Walker Dreamer. We've got this long road lined by trees, high, very dark, contrasty subject in a wheelchair right here. And I don't know, maybe this is my bias of being a person that's able-bodied and walking around, but I read into that. This is a person who no longer has the use of their legs and is nostalgic for a time when they could walk down this tree-lined thing. That might be really small-minded of me. I hope it's not. But that's
I felt the same when I saw it.
Yeah. That's kind of what I thought of. And so I just think this is a very nostalgic image. So I liked it.
It's nice.
The Walker Dreamer, thank you to those folks. And now, Scott, I got no idea what order we are in here. But how about this one? Is this an honorable mention?
I can't see it.
We're looking at Nancy Kachia's swing.
Nancy's?
Yep.
Yeah, Nancy's was an honourable mention. So I really like this shot. It's a very well... I like the fact that you've blown out the background, you've got some bokeh going here, and the focus is purely on the swing. It's nostalgic, spending days at the playground, thinking about times gone by, and it's really nice. I think this could have been improved slightly by just giving it a little bit more room beneath the swing.
I agree.
Which is why it's an honourable mention and not the winner, but great shot.
Very nice. Okay.
My next honourable mention was Roger's...
Got it on the screen.
Roger's shot of this horse. It's a pretty good shot. It's fairly well composed. And I think this one is probably more about the nostalgia story, and it was told fairly well, which is why it got my pick. And it did grab my eye when I was searching through the hashtag. Rogers took this photograph 43 years ago on a Kodak camera in his late teens, and it still hangs in a frame on his wall. That's really nice. That is nostalgic. That personifies nostalgia. That's a really nice, and I really like the contrasty film look on this. So.
Yep.
Hey,
I agree.
Great work.
I agree.
In the dark room 43 years ago.
And it was in Ilford. It was Ilford, so you could get that developed in the States now. But
was it really?
It was an Ilford monochrome 400 ASA.
Amazing.
Yep.
Amazing.
Very nice. It's a great shot. It caught my eye as well. And then your winner, where is it?
My winner, Brian.
Yep. On the screen.
I must admit, this touched me personally, because Clacton-on-Sea in Essex is not far from me, and this fish and chips thing at the pier, Clacton is one of those areas which is a nice area, but it suffers somewhat with people going abroad these days. It used to be the case in Britain. Everyone would go on holiday to Clacton-on-Sea or Southend or this kind of stuff. But these places are still trying to keep their head above water, and I'm sure this is somewhere that Mr. B, the photo man, unfortunately I don't have his name here, but Brian, has probably frequented many points in his life, and I really like the image. I like the way he's processed it. He's made it black and white to kind of fit in with the nostalgia theme, and I really like it. I like the hashtag fish and chips, and we're going to have fish and chips Toby?
I'm fully on board with that. What I'm not fully on board with is you told me that if we go out drinking, I have to get wasted. So we'll talk more about that. But I am fully on board with fish and chips. I do. The black and white has made this timeless, and so you know you don't
Yes.
quite know, and we don't really have a good look at the people, so we can't
No.
identify the period necessarily. But it's nice,
I think he took this very recently.
probably. How do you feel about eating food with eyes on it, like that French fry?
Oh, I don't mind that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody who participated. I love running this Instagram weekly challenge. It is fantastic. I'm really happy now that Roy has started this group photorec.tv Instagram account. It takes a little pressure off me to remember to always get the reminders out there. So if you want to know what the next weekly challenge is, well, I'll tell you in a second. But you can also, if you don't always watch the show, and over the next couple of weeks as we have a little bit of a hiatus here, or a Haitian, as Scott said.
No, I just can't pronounce it properly.
It's fine. You can follow photorec.tv on Instagram. Next week, let's see some negative space used in your compositions. So PRTV _ negative space. You can, Scott and I were talking before the show, we really like it when you go out and shoot an image for that challenge that week. It makes us feel good, it makes us feel that you're really getting out there. My winner this week was somebody, that was like 66 weeks ago. So, you know, I do sometimes really just look at the images, but there are times where it's hard to pick a winner. I will lean towards the one who's made the effort to take that image more recently. So keep that in mind.
Bella's come to say hello as well.
Hi, Bella.
If you're following me on Snapchat, you will have seen Bella a little bit earlier. Bella is a slightly older cat, although she's still not old. She's about 13 months old. But she's a bit violent when she wants to be, and I think she's getting a bit pissy, so we'll let her go now.
Who's she violent towards?
Me, mostly.
Oh, okay.
What's your Snapchat, Toby, for anyone that doesn't follow you currently on Snapchat?
Photorec Toby. You can find out things like what I eat for lunch, how I pour my coffee in the morning, whether or not I wear Crocs. Maybe. I could be wearing them right now, and everybody's opinions just changed about how they feel about me. Or maybe if I'm on a secret expedition, or if I'm moving, or I'm at my mom's house. Who knows what you're going to get on Snapchat? Or Steve and I at the wedding last weekend using the automatic autofocus calibration. Where did I put the Nikon?
That was cool.
The D500 and the D5. That I'm going to be talking about that soon, though. I try to get a video out about that. It's pretty neat, but not super reliable. So we'll be sharing that information as well.
I am Photorec Scott on Snapchat.
Photorec Scott.
Please feel free to follow me. I'm mostly Snapchat behind the scenes of stuff we're doing here, and then the cats, basically. So, and my breakfast as well, although your breakfasts seem a lot more interesting than mine, apart from when you eat like some kind of wrap with fruit and vegetables in it. That's weird for breakfast. What was that?
That was lunch.
Yeah, you wrote breakfast on it.
I was already drunk.
Probably.
I was going to say something useful about it. What was it? Oh, the face swapping that happened last Friday in the Patreon group was interesting because, as you know now, this is photo related. So if you're really annoyed right now, you're stuffy and you've got to stick up your butt. You can now face swap with a saved picture from the camera roll. So there were some horrifying versions of me on people's faces out there. There were some that were like, that's okay. I'd go on a date with that person. But there were some that, as I was going to bed, were haunting my dreams. So, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. The Patreon group is a blast. I love them. I love everybody in there. You are fantastic. You make me smile. Sometimes you literally make me laugh out loud. And that was quite the thread last week.
Every single one of us, well, not every single one of us, but a lot of us that are on Snapchat went onto Snapchat with a picture of Toby and face swapped. And there were tears. People were crying with laughter. Toby threatened to fire me. You know, it all get out of hand. But, you know, let's just say, Toby looks really good with long hair on a slightly Hispanic body. Fantastic.
I think we're talking about Trelina if we're going to out somebody. And
Maybe.
my first thought were, those are some fantastic lips. That was my first thought.
Yeah.
Now we've just gone down a weird road, but I will add, what did I want to add to that? Shoot, I forgot. Oh, I know. My clue that things were going south quickly was getting a notification on an ancient picture of me from like back in 2013 that Angela liked it, which meant, what is Angela doing back that far in time? She's mining for Snapchat photos.
She is the devil, that lady.
Let's I'm going to take a shot of this gin. See if I can. I can't finish.
Yes.
That's too much.
Shot.
But
shot,
I did.
shot,
I did pour some in here.
Shot. Yeah.
Oh God, that's a stupid idea.
It's a great idea.
What's wrong with me? God.
This show's going to get looser and looser.
You think at my age I would only have good ideas? Why am I still having stupid ideas?
If you're watching this after the event, please leave a comment on how old you think Toby is. I have an item that I've been sent to review. I've not yet reviewed it yet, and if anyone gets it on the nose that isn't in the Patreon group, I'll say this because the Patreon group know how old he is. If anyone gets it on the nose, I will send you it. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but if you get Toby's age on the nose, I will send you this mystery item. Leave a comment below.
I have no idea what item you have. My throat feels a little fiery right now. But I will say, for anybody who's annoyed at the pace of this show right now, go stuff it, because it's the last one for quite a while, and we're having a little bit of fun and chatting with my friend. But let's get back on talk and talk about the 11 stupidest things photographers say about gear. This is a Petapixel article that was passed around earlier this week. I think I actually first saw it in the Patreon group again. I think Roger posted it, I think. And number 11, any sentence including micro contrast or 3D pop or medium format look.
Oh, you dicks. Medium format look. Full frame look. I want that. How do I get that full frame look?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, and this person says, listen, these days it's pretty hard to buy a bad lens, no matter how much or how little money you're spending. So that fancy lens you want, if you can afford it, just get it. You'll probably like it. And yeah, the only way to get that medium format look is to use a medium format camera and lens. End of story. I mean, that leads into that whole idea of the pixel peeping, really, I think. Well, not so much the medium format look, but that micro contrast and that discussion of those things. It is spending too much time analyzing how your image looks and not enough time out there making new images. So,
I agree.
Number 10, I prefer the Nikon look. Somebody says that. I prefer the Nikon look. Now, I will say that I do hear from professionals that I value their opinion that straight out of the camera, they prefer the skin tones of Canon often. I do hear that.
I hear that too.
But again, the discussion with Steve, I asked, about in that transition period of switching Canon to Nikon, it is like a tiny couple of clicks, a preset that is set on import to get the images to look the way you want them to. And then who cares what you're shooting with? And they bring up the F-Stoppers article. It was a blind test. Nikon D810, the Canon 5DSR, the Sony A7R Mark II shot identical pictures and had people guess which camera took which picture. Nobody could tell, or not any statistical significance could tell one from the other. They all look good, and that's even before post-processing. So, number 9, OMG. That lens has the best bokeh, or bokeh, if you will.
I don't know. This one's this one's maybe a bit less because the bokeh on my bokeh, I'm going to say bokeh, whatever, on my 24-70 Tamron is not great because it has onioning. And that's crap. That is crap. We like that soft buttery bokeh. So maybe this is one where I'll disagree with. But as probably a good point in this one is it says if the focus of the picture is the bokeh, then the picture's not a great picture.
That's right. I will. But even the next line is strong subjects overcome bad or distracting bokeh any day of the week. End of story. Yes, I will say, but there are times where if you've got really funky bokeh, it can kind of pull you away. But again, there's not a whole lot of lenses that really have really funky bokeh. And again, a tiny little bit of post-processing. You ever do a little kind of, you could do a little, drop your clarity, drop your sharpness a little bit. Have you played with that with a Tamron and get results that you're a little bit happier about?
Yeah, kind of. You have to. Sorry, I just had to do a quick battery change. As everyone's pointing out in the chat, I had a little freeze.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have played around with the sharpness stuff. I think if you don't over sharpen the background and you kind of specify different bits, then we're kind of good. But that onioning is still quite apparent. You would really have to do quite a lot of work to that bokeh to make it look
okay.
Great. If the area is super out of focus, then it's fine.
Yeah.
But if it's kind of not quite and it's still the in between state doesn't look great. It is very circular, which is nice. But yeah, I mean, this is just one of those points where kind of people bokeh's overrated for me personally.
Okay. Number 8, that legendary Brand X 85mm lens. His response is, there are no legendary cameras or lenses. There are only legendary photographers who make legendary pictures. For example, Steve McCurry shot his famous Afghan girl picture with a Nikon FM2 and a 105 to f2.8 AIS lens. Steve is an amazing photographer. He could have made do with a Canon or Olympus or a Pentax or a Leica, anything else. All right. I mean, there are certain lenses, though, and we do put certain lenses on a pedestal, and they're like, whoa. But I say that, and the Canon 85 f1.2 has a look to it.
that is a legendary look lens.
It is. It really does. I have shot events where I have the Canon 70-200 f2.8 IS Mark II lens on there. I am always impressed with the quality of that lens, the contrast in harsh lighting situations. That is what you get with an L lens, and plus it's also sharp wide open. And then I put on the 85 1.2, and it has this additional look to it that is just...
It's kind of the same way, we were talking a little bit earlier on the mirrorless stuff, that Fuji stuff straight out of the camera has this almost kind of film-like look.
Yeah.
And the legendary, okay, this says lens, but camera, legendary lens camera is, I think that one's been kind of pushed down. Maybe we're stupid photographers, but I think there is kind of an argument for legendary lenses on this occasion. The 70-200 2.8 is definitely, version 2 is definitely legendary lens. The 85 1.2. The Canon 50mm 1 f1 is a legendary lens as well. Mostly because it's obviously now is not in production.
Yeah.
But and what is it, the 0.95 50mm?
The Mitakon.
Another in quotes legendary lens. So as you say, there's certain lenses that we shoot with, and pretty much a lot of the time you'll look at your picture straight away, and maybe it's just this feeling we get used to shooting so many pictures, but you go, yeah, I don't even need the data thing. I know I shot that with an 85.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
The next one's a very relevant point, though.
My camera is outdated. It's number 7 in photography 99% of the time, 99.9% of the time. Newer is better. But any equipment that still functions as intended is not outdated. Oh, wait, could people just hear those ding-dings? I should fix that. And the author says, I've got a Canon 5D. Yes, the original one from 2005. And Canon's about to announce a 5D Mark IV. Well, not really about. Sometime this fall. It's going to be way better than my old 5D. But you know what? My 5D still powers on just fine and is 100% functional, so it's not outdated. It's true.
He's taken it to kind of a bit of an extreme there, but... Yeah, when the 5D Mark IV comes out, we said last week I probably won't get rid of my 5D Mark III, and I think most A6000 users, unless there's very specific things they need, probably won't upgrade to the A6300. Most cameras that are on sale now that you can buy new are not outdated.
Right. And even
I
older
think.
camera. I mean, well, what does it mean to be outdated? So sure, they don't have some features
Mhm.
that might make your job easier, like autofocus in low light, or Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
or number of focus points or coverage, or something. Feedback to you like an electronic viewfinder, but that doesn't mean that they're not capable of still producing amazing images.
That's right.
Okay, we're on the page with that. That's fine. I'm afraid my gear will get wet slash broken slash peed on. I have to go to the bathroom pretty bad right now, so all the gear below me is in danger. Stop treating your camera like it's a newborn baby. If you take responsible, common sense precaution, your gear is going to be perfectly safe 99.999% of the time. I like this guy. He makes up percentages like I do often. I make up percentages about 78.6% of the time. This
Yeah.
guy, even more often. Funny story. Yesterday, Riley and I were packing to go out and shoot something, and I had already jammed pretty much everything I could into my giant think tank bag, but still needed to jam one more camera in there. And I just jammed it in there. And I said, Riley, when I got my first digital camera, my little Kodak-y point and shoot, I had this little Pelican briefcase for it, and I carefully kept it in there. I would take it out, pop the little thing out, take a picture, pop it back in there, and continue on down the trail. And if I took it out, oh, it's raining, put it back in. And Riley actually said his first camera he worked with, he was in a stream. He kind of covered it in cellophane, and people were splashing. He was doing video work, so he had a very different story. He's much more, well, see, ballsy. He's going to sail this right across the Atlantic next week. But now, as I said, I'm like, this is the gear. I need it to work. I need to pack this bag. I'm not going to worry about babying it. It's going to be okay.
I used the A7 II in the pouring rain on Saturday.
Do you remember my story from now 2 years ago, I believe, where I really wish I could find the picture. I came in, I was doing photographing a wedding. It was pouring. I had the groomsmen all right underneath the balcony, so they were out of the rain, but I had to step out to get the shot. Rain pouring on my 5D Mark III and on my Sigma lens. And then afterwards, I took a picture of it and was like, look how tough my camera is. And next week, it stopped working.
Isn't that because the Sigma is not weather sealed though?
Well, that's the thing. I do not think enough water entered at the mount point to make it an issue. This was motherboard water damage, and that is all from up top. I don't think it came in. I mean, it wasn't like I didn't notice, but I would feel like if there was enough water that came in through the mount point that I would hear sloshing or something. Whereas I really think it came in up top.
Yeah, but the A7 II is a somewhat weather sealed camera.
It is.
However, when you have the Metabones on there, it is not. The Metabones is definitely not weather sealed.
You know what? To continue this rambling episode, I have primarily been using that ComLight adapter for my Sony, and I believe that is a significant contributor to my dust issue on the sensors, because that is not weather sealed at all. That is two new points, the end mounted to the camera, the end mounted to the lens, that are not weather sealed, and I think the dust is like, yeah, buddy, let's go get that sensor. That's what I think it's like. Number 5. My family will be so happy I'm bringing all this gear on our vacation.
This is a good point. My
is
girlfriend is kind of sitting across from me at the moment, looking at me funny because this is me on our holidays. Trying to pack 15 to 30, 24-70, 7200, 2 flashes, huge think tank bag, 5D Mark III, taking all that crap. When do you really need it on a family holiday?
No.
Not really.
No.
Not really.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, what's going on in the chat? There's a couple annoying people we're always having to ban. I will say
Really?
not only on family vacations, but when I went on the Iceland trip, I had too much gear. And every time I got off the bus, it was a mental decision. What am I going to take? What am I going to shoot with? What do I want? And it wore me down, and it was annoying. Now, I completely realize I am in this enviable position where I get gear on loan, I get to buy gear and call it an expense as part of my job, and so I've got all of this different gear to choose from, but it was not good, and it wore me out. In Moab, I basically took the Sony a6300, the 16 to 70, and the 10 to 18. And I could carry both of those with me, and I could just get out of the car and be like, this is what I got. I don't have to think about what I'm taking with me each day. And that was a much better experience. So I recognize that we want to go to these places and we want to be prepared for whatever, suits us. But you don't want to get into this position where you're constantly mentally having to think about what you're going to use. Just take one lens, maybe a prime, and just get out there and make the pictures with what you got. Even if you've got more gear, when you go on these trips, you're going to be happier. That's what I'm going to say. And for Cuba, we got serious weight limits. Your total baggage weight, this includes your carry-on and your check bag together, should not be more than 44 pounds, or you have to paying them $2 per pound.
What's that in kilos?
2.2 pounds is a kilo. So what is that? It's 20-ish kilos.
Well, if you fly budget like I do here, that's kind of about normal. But that doesn't include carry-on, surely?
No, you weren't listening, Scott. Yes, carry-on and checked baggage both together weighed.
Combined?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, sorry, I was paying attention to the
That's
chat.
fine. That's fine. No, I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. I bring this laptop so I can edit, and man, so I am still in the decision about what I'm going to bring. It's probably going to be either maybe just the A6300 and the GH4 for filming, or GH4 and the A7R Mark II. So we'll see. We'll go on. Let's go. I'll talk more about that when I'm actually on the Cuba trip. F4 is the sweet spot of this lens. I've never understood the idea of shooting at a lens's sweet spot. I love my Sony 35mm f2.8, and let's say the MTF curves and the lab tests say that it's sharpest at f8. This piece of information is 100% useless. Unless you're making truly massive prints and need maximum sharpness, 99.9% of us, hey, there he's got making up that percentage again though, but I agree. Your aperture should be a reflection of the amount of light in the scene and or your desired depth of field, period. I agree. Other than to say, if you've got plenty of room to play with, go ahead and shoot at that sharpest thing. But like he says, and I agree, probably most of the time you're not going to notice a difference, and you certainly shouldn't stress about it. You've bought a lens. This is another thing I've seen on McKay trips, working with beginners. They get stuck on this idea of the sweet spot of the lens, and especially ones who have spent a lot of money on high quality glass. When you're shooting with a higher quality lens, that difference from its sweet spot to wide open is usually infinitesimally small. So don't stress about it. Shoot at the aperture you need to make the picture you're shooting at.
I agree.
Number 3, I just downloaded the Lightroom Photoshop Capture One Apple OS X update that came out today. This person says never download a new update when it's first released.
After what happened before, I'd probably agree with them.
Yeah. I do, because I want to know about the bugs. I want to run into them, and then I can tell people and share people about it. But if you're a regular person, you don't necessarily need to be in a rush to update this. Number 2, this is the common one. I hate it when people say your pictures are great, you must have a great camera. We've talked about this a lot before. It's the same thing as like saying, oh, this dinner was delicious, you must have a great stove. It doesn't work like that.
Are we not allowed to be slightly irritated by that, though? Is that such a bad thing?
I
think what his point here is saying that.
Am I misleading? Okay,
he's kind of saying, oh, I hate you when people say that. Well, it is kind of irritating because it kind of. Nobody says that about a painter. Nobody says you must have great brushes. So we want to be rewarded for our creativity and our stuff. I don't think being kind of not. I don't think getting super pissed about it is a thing, but I think people are still irritated. And if someone kind of walks up to you and says, you must have a great camera, you turn around and say, I do have a really nice camera, however, and you normally try and talk to them about it and say, I do have a good camera and I like to have good equipment, but I could do this with most cameras. I don't think that's anything to get. I don't think that's a stupid thing photographers say, getting annoyed about that.
Right. I think I read this run wrong, and yes, yes, I think so. I think
that is annoying, isn't it?
It is annoying. It is annoying. But But also he says, how many times have you Googled what camera does Joe Schmo use? Because when you think about it, that's basically saying Joe Schmo's pictures are great. He must have a great camera. Oh, right. No, I have never done that. That's what he's saying. Yeah, but that's what beginner people are stuck on, and it's a discussion point to then enlighten them.
This is kind of a similar point of here. It's a really big thing. I don't know about in the rest of the world, but footballers or soccer players, as you call them, are paid millions of pounds for football boot endorsements because somebody wants to wear a particular pair of football boots because they want to be like that person. I don't think that's any different with cameras. I think there are photographers and artisans, particularly with Sony, that are planted or given cameras. They use them, they produce great images, and people buy them because they think, well, hey, he uses that. That's the equipment he uses. I want to know what that is. That's probably one of the most common questions I've been asked since I joined this channel is, how are you finding that piece of gear? That's a really nice piece. That's a nice picture. What was it taken on? If I don't put the information.
Yeah.
I think people want to know that kind of thing, really. So I don't see that's a bad thing.
Okay.
What camera do you use, Toby? Because I want to be like you.
I use Pixel the cat. Hold her up to my face, the big clicky sounds.
Angela, send me a Pixel.
All right, number 1. I don't care about gear. Listen, I tell myself all the time that I'm not obsessed with gear, and it's total BS. I troll Craigslist for deals every single day, even for stuff I don't need. I'm always thinking about whether or not I should buy the new Sony a7R Mark II, even though my a7 Mark II perfectly suits my needs 99% of the time. Let's admit the truth. We all want new toys, whether it's a Nikon D5 or a Hasselblad or a $20 film point and shoot. I think people reading this article, I think most people watching this channel probably agree and feel in this thing. We do. I remember my mom reading some book not too long ago. I think it was about back to earthers and this kind of whole idea of divorcing ourselves from this consumeristic society. We want shiny new things. And
I love them.
Yeah, I do. I like them too.
There's nothing more exciting about getting a new piece of equipment through, whether it's a camera body, a lens. I got a new eyepiece through this week, and you sent me it from the States, and it's exciting coming through, something new to try.
And you say exciting. I don't pay you anything. Look, I sent you an eyepiece. Well, you bought it, didn't you? Did I buy it?
I bought it. I bought it. Yeah. Anyway.
I didn't make you pay for the shipping. That's right.
How much gin has he had?
But there are some people watching this, and I think Drelina actually talked about this I think she mentioned this in response to Rogers, and she does not feel this way. She doesn't feel the pull of the gear. And there are certainly some people, and I say kudos to you. That's good. But people who are excited about gear and playing with new gear, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But you certainly don't get caught up with the fact or the idea, and I've said this a lot, this is where I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I listen to some other podcasts and I hear people repeat themselves all the time, so I'm okay with it. Don't get hung up on the fact of, oh, I can't make that image because I don't have that piece of gear. Other than maybe like some super long lens when you want to really capture an animal. Otherwise, get out there with what you have and make pictures. Okay?
Yeah. Are we doing questions now or in the after show? Because we've already ran past an hour.
God, I can't believe that. I thought the show was going to be so much shorter. And I'm about to
you just keep
myself.
babbling on with your drunken talk and,
We're going to answer 2 questions.
Yeah.
And then we're going to move to the after show.
Cool.
All right. Question number 1 from Dan is, those that have used the 70D and a T5 or T5i, how much better is the high ISO performance of the 70D? This can be a question for Toby as well. Let's come here now.
It's definitely going to be a question for you because I've only used the 70D.
Yeah. I can't compare the T5. I believe the T5 is I don't remember if the T5 is one generation behind the T5i or if it's the same sensor.
No, the T5 is the 1200D, which is the super small one. It's not the SL1.
No. Okay.
But it's the super
non-articulating screen and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
The difference is noticeable, Dan, I'll say, but it's not humongous. In low light at those higher ISOs, you can see that the 70D is better. But it's not like a full stop better. Whereas, if you shoot at 1600 on the T5i, that looks like 3200 on the 70D. Not quite, but somewhere in between that amount. It's an amount that I wouldn't stress over a whole lot. And if saving and getting the T5 or the T5, now there's probably a little bit more difference with the T5. Saving and being able to get the T5i, saving some dollars that allows you to put it towards a prime lens, well, that is going to be a whole lot better than going with the 70D and just a kit lens.
Definitely.
Okay. Ursula wants to know, when can you call or deem yourself a photographer if you do not do this professionally?
Anytime.
Seriously?
In my opinion.
Yep.
If you've got a camera and you go out and take pictures, you are a photographer. In my opinion, people that call themselves professional photographers, I had a bit of a joke with one of our members earlier in the week, tongue-in-cheek, because he's got professional photographer on his Instagram account. If you do work for payment of some sort, photographs, that is professional work as a photographer. Whether that's 1 gig a year, whether that's a gig every day, that's professional work. So I think it's if you think it's going to benefit you in terms of getting jobs to either call yourself a photographer or a professional photographer, go for it. If anyone wants to look down their nose and say you're not professional, throw them the finger. Just say,
well, she's just asking a photographer.
Photographer.
Yeah.
Pick up your iPhone and go like that. Take a picture. Photographer. You're taking photos. What's wrong with that? Everyone's a photographer. I don't think you should certainly not. We've seen comments, I think, from people in the group before that are just starting out. They're real beginners. Hey, I'm just a beginner. I'm not really a photographer. This kind of stuff. I don't think you should put yourself down like that at all. I think if you want to call yourself a photographer, do it. What do you think?
I agree.
You're too busy necking gin.
I'm not necking gin. I'm holding. I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, me too.
We're going to have a little bit of a slightly longer break before the after show, which we're about to start right now. Now, if you're watching live, you get to continue to watch the after show after this brief period where Scott and I both hit the bathroom. And sorry for so much bathroom talk. Bathroom. It is that part of the show, though, that if you're not watching live, you only get to see if you are a Patreon supporter at the $5 and up month level. And as I said earlier in the show, if you didn't watch, those people in that group are fantastic people. They're there to bounce ideas off of, to ask questions, to receive feedback on images, and I'm in there as well. It is like having a photography book with whatever answer you're looking for available to you at all times, constantly updated. You can get in there for just $5 a month. You also get the Lightroom videos. You get the critiques that happen in the after show. There is a lot of value to those people, and I value those people as well. And so it's pretty neat how it all works out. I'm really excited. And as I've talked in previous shows, I really am conscious of value and making sure that those people are happy and getting what they want. So if you aren't already a Patreon supporter, you can learn more about this at photorec.tv/support. Go support. While this show is on hiatus, what we're probably thinking about is that Roy, thank you very much for your work, but Scott will be doing shows just for the Patreon group. Some of that will get recorded and put out for the rest of you all, but that's there, and that's going to be there. And we thank those people for their support, and thank you for considering supporting at photorec.tv/support. Scott's already run to the bathroom. I am literally clenching my legs together, so I'm going to say goodbye. What a weird way to end the last episode in this place. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back in just a few minutes in the after show.